Welcome to Lord's Chronicles. Today, this is Purim. Finna start here in just a few minutes. So we're going to talk about Hadassah, or Esther, or Myrtle Esther. When was this? Do you know? It was after Nebuchadnezzar's.
It was 500 years after the.
Yeah, that's right. It was 500 years after the carrying away into
Babylonia.
Yeah.
And then the Jews or the Israelites, were set free. They could go back to Jerusalem if they wanted to, but some of them decided to stay and assimilate in this empire.
Well, yeah.
The Persian Empire.
It was a big one. It went from India all the way to Ethiopia. You know, I don't know if Jerusalem was part of the Azariah's empire or not. You know, I never thought about that. I never written and understood whether, the Mediterranean area was under his control or not. I don't know. 127 provinces. But anyway.
Well, it said it went from India even up to Ethiopia.
Yeah, but through the Arabians, so that's south. That would be south. So I don't know if it went up in, actually up into Turkey and Syria or modern day Jordan or not. Oh well.
I think it said somewhere it was Iran, wasn't it?
Well, Persia is part of Iran now.
No.
It says Persia and Medes. It starts off with Vesti, the first wife, not wanting to come to the king's demand. And so the guys, naturally, we get together and we decide, well, can't have that. Because all them girls are going to start disobeying. So, we need a decree that they got to honor us. So that's how it all started out.
Well, actually, no, that's not how it actually all started out.
How did it start out?
Well, back in King Saul's time, God had told him to destroy the Amalekites because of the injustice that the king had done to the Israelites when they were coming out of Egypt. That he went and attacked the backside of the army of the Israelites. He took out the weak and the tired.
Well, you're talking about our guy.
Yeah. And so...
That's right. He was a 16th generation from the king of the Amalekites.
Yeah. Haman was, anyway.
Yeah. That's right. Backside.
Yeah. And because Saul didn't destroy the Amalekites, he kept the king, and he also kept some of the herds and money and sheep and things like that.
No, that's right, because he was told to kill it all.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why Samuel said, "What is this lowing I hear in my?" I remember that. So you believe that this goes all the way back to?
That's what the Bible said.
I guess it does, don't it? Because in the end, he does tell her, if you don't do this, your family. He was a Benjamite, and she was a Benjamite. So I guess so. Well, thank you, dear. That was pretty good. These kings are always dependent on these wise men. And we get over here to, even old Haman, he had some wise men. I didn't realize his wife was a soothsayer. But she's the one that came on later and pretty much told him, you know, that he wasn't going to prevail against Mordecai, because if he's a Jew, right? Isn't that what she said? I'm pretty sure it is. I guess we should have been a little bit more up on it.
Well, he
the whole
goes.
house.
Yeah, he goes to the house and he's bragging, right? Look at me, I got all this wealthy clothes and money, and I'm even going to go to the queen's banquet. But he's so upset, you know, because Mordecai won't bow down to him. So that's when she tells him, you know, to put up a pole to impel him, but yet go to the banquet and be happy.
Yeah, it's interesting that, and in traditions, it's that the reason that Mordecai wouldn't bow down is because in tradition it's believed that Haman had embroidered a deity on his garments, and to bow down before that would have been unacceptable. As far as giving homage or bowing before a king or a king's high man, that probably wouldn't have been so much of a problem. But to bow down before a deity, if he had put a deity on his robe, and the tradition holds that that's what he done, and that Mordecai he couldn't do that. Is why it aggravated. But Haman wasn't stupid to this. He knew. He knew that he knew.
Well, it was kind of like what during Daniel's time, right, when they brought out that bronze image. I believe it was bronze, and Daniel said, "No, we can't bow to that," you know, because there's only one true God. And so, in Mordecai's belief, right, he could not bow down to Haman because Haman was making himself higher than a king and actually making himself to be a god because he was requiring them to bow down.
Yeah, it says over here in Esther 6.
I believe, if I'm not wrong, I think the king even gives order. I do believe. And in doing so, that was like I'm saying, like Daniel, right? There was
it's the same. Yeah,
it was a decree that went out.
Yeah, and Haman at that time, he could do whatever he wanted to do, right? I mean, he was given free reign over a lot of stuff. The king can't do everything. But I see over here in Esther 6:13 is what I was talking about. It says, and Haman went home after the king had given, after Haman said, put royal apparel on him and give him your horse, and come to find out. Right, it wasn't him. He thought it was going to be him, but it wasn't. It was Mordecai. So after he had to do that, because if he didn't, he would have been killed. He went home crying, to his wife, and his wise men. Then said his wise men and Zeresh, his wife, unto him, if Mordecai be of the seed of the Jews, before whom thou hast begun to fall, thou shalt not prevail against him. So this scared him. You see later, if you read the story, that he goes and he understands that things have turned against him. I mean, his mortal enemy, Mordecai, has been I mean, rode around in royal apparel on the white horse of the king. So he knows he's in trouble. And then when he finds out, Esther, uh, man, he's in a lot of trouble, and he knows it. Uh, we go weird. Let's see what it says in 7. It's pretty interesting, really. Uh, you know what? The tradition has it that the archangel Michael pushed Haman down when the king walked out.
I read that too
Yeah,
somewhere that
yeah,
they.
yeah.
Well, it's commentary. They think that the angel Michael pushed Haman on to.
Down so that he wouldn't be above the beloved queen, and not only that, but like I said in my post, he thought he was going to roll an 8 there, and he come up with a with snake eyes, and he that lot didn't work out for him, because he was on the couch, and the king was already mad at him, and they hung him then, but it was what was it 3 months later before they hanged his 10 children, something like that, because they had to reverse the order, right? He gave Esther and Mordecai Haman's house, which what this means is he gave him Haman's station in life, is what that means, pretty much. And
well, the order or decree that went out that Haman went and asked the king to make was not only for the Jews in that particular province, but it would have killed all Jews.
Yeah, from India to Ethiopia.
Even in Jerusalem.
120. Well, I don't know if Jerusalem was part of the
well, it was a decree to go out and kill all Jews.
Yeah,
in his gone.
Yeah, in his control, where he was king over 127 provinces. It comes back, and so I don't know. I don't know if Jerusalem was part of his kingdom or not, but it doesn't matter. We do know that over here, when she hears it, and these years have gone by. She was married to the king for, I think, 5 years before this decree went out, and she told Mordecai, it's been 30 days since I even seen the king, and I can't just walk in there because the law is if you can't do that unless he points the scepter at her. Right? We know the story. But the interesting thing is he tells her that if she don't arise to the occasion, that her family. Now he's talking about like you said. I didn't realize that until you said that, but he's talking about the whole Benjamite people was going to be killed.
Thy father's.
Yeah, thy father's house. So, all the Benjamites under this man's rule, especially, were going to be killed. I didn't realize that he threatened her, so to speak, with that information. And like she said, she called a 3-day fast, and she did rise to the occasion. And if I perish, I perish. But I didn't realize that you're right. The devil is a mimic, and was going to do to the Benjamin. He was going to do to Saul what Saul was supposed to do to them. And I know it was 500 years later, but he's got plenty of time. So that's pretty interesting. That's a pretty interesting thing. I don't want to just tell the story like it's always been told. That's no fun. Just go to a Purim party and you'll hear it. And there's another thing in here too. You remember, it almost reminds me of Jezebel. Haman is such a crybaby. He always covered his head and running home and telling his wife, poor me. This guy, he won't do what I want him to, and I want that vineyard next to my palace, but he won't sell it. And so she devises a plan to get it, and ends up trying to kill everybody to do it. And there's another one in here too.
That's interesting too, because it was not actually Haman that started this. I guess you could call it a war, so to speak. Maybe that's not even the right word. But it was the others that was watching Mordecai not bowing down, and they wanted to know why he was not bowing down, but they were the only ones that knew that he was a Jew. So they finally came to Haman and told him.
Yeah. Tradition believed that it was his wife that actually started all this through spies and stuff, but we don't know that for sure. But we do know you're right. It was not Haman. Haman did not start this. Now, he was the villain. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. But no, there was other people. There was other devils out there involved in it. There's another one in here, too, that strikes me. The girl, the story is really cool. Remember when John the Baptist got his head cut off?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This story mimics that one, too. In a way.
Well,
think about it.
Well, John the Baptist told, I can't think of the king. What was the king?
Agrippa. Herod.
Yeah, his
he was living
brother
he was living with Philip's wife, his brother's wife, and that's not lawful for him to do.
Yeah.
And she didn't like it.
Yeah.
So they all cry babies. They're all,
but it kind of seems to be women also that kind of play a background story in these tales.
Yeah, there's a lot of women villains, but there's just as many women heroes.
Well, because it was the wife, right, that told her daughter, because she went and danced before the king, right? He said, to
the half of my it's the same thing he told her, to the half of my kingdom.
The mother said, ask for his,
the head of
John the Baptist,
and charge her by.
And he didn't want to because he really loved John the Baptist.
Well, it's interesting too. In the end of this.
Or maybe cared for John. Maybe I shouldn't say love, but
Vanessa, she makes a statement in here. It's a weird word that you don't hear much. I don't know if I could find it, but what she tells the king in that statement, when she's telling him this evil Mordecai.
Mordecai.
Yeah. But what she tells the king is, I wish I could find that word. It would take me a minute or two to find it. I guess I should have been more prepared. But what she tells the king is, here it is, contravail. Now what that means is when she's telling him, she said, in other words, we are sold, and my people to be destroyed.
Okay, so you're talking about Esther.
Yeah, that was 50,000 pieces of silver. It's a lot more than 30 pieces of silver, but still, Haman bought this. He bribed the king with 50,000 pieces of silver to do this.
Well,
right? I mean, it was all about money.
Yeah, because he said he would give that to the
treasury.
Yeah,
exactly. And then he said, "Well, there you go. There's the money. So you go do what you want to do." So, like you said, to be slain and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondman or bondwoman, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not contravail the king damage. So what she's telling the king here, and we're just getting bits and pieces. This happened 500 years, after the exile. What is that? 500 years to Christ. 3,000 years ago, somewhere in that neighborhood. Don't quote me on that. But what she's telling the king here is that these people that you're going to destroy the enemy, there's no way he can compensate, because that's what that word countervail means. I know it's here, and a lot of people don't understand it maybe, but that's what that means, is compensate. There is no way that what he's fixing to do to you, he can compensate you for the damage that you're fixing to get by the killing of all of these Jewish people.
Yeah.
There's no way. Because it would have caused probably civil war within his own country. This king was not all that bright, I don't believe. But that's interesting too, that she tells the king that this is a very complex conversation. You know, she's smarter than you think. You know, she's telling the king here that this enemy here, if you do this, if you allow this to take place, you're going to lose way more than 50,000 pieces of silver. That's nowhere going to compensate you for the loss that you're fixing to entail. And you know, as an economic point of view, yeah, she's right, because the businesses and the things that they do, even though they went in and took the spoil, now you'll notice here that was the Benjamites. You are exactly right. You know, the more I think about it, the more right you are, because he was told.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Saul was told not to take anything.
Right, he was.
So the Jews here, right, did not take anything from the 800 people or all over the promises of the people that they 70,000 people, I believe it was, throughout India and Ethiopia, all the way across. And I believe it was one day, the 13th, I'm pretty sure of that one. The 13th was the day that was supposed to take place. And then Esther went in again unto the king and asked him for another day. So the first day they killed, I believe it was, I'd have to look, but I believe it's 500 people in Shushan, and then 300 the next day. And out of the 800 people there inside the palace walls, and we're talking people who probably had lots. We're not talking about poor paupers. They didn't take a single thing. So they did fulfill what God had told, right, Saul not to do.
Yeah, because it says here.
Absolutely. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, because it says here, but the other Jews that were in the king's provinces gathered themselves together and stood for their lives and had rest from their enemies and slew of their foes 70 and 5. So that's 75,000.
Yeah, 77.
But they laid not their hands on the prey.
Oh, none of the goods.
Which is lewd.
Yeah, which is, they didn't get nothing. So that they did go ahead and after 500, no, it was more than 500 years. It was a long time. I don't know how long it was. I'd have to go look. I don't know how long it was from Saul's reign to the captivity. Probably about 500 years. So we're talking 1,000 years later, roughly. Don't quote me on that, but it's somewhere in that neighborhood, 800 years. But they did fulfill they fulfilled what God told Saul to do.
Right.
And until they fulfilled what God told Saul to do, right, it was still out there. The devil still could intervene, so to speak, because the promise or the covenant, right, had not been completed. I made a covenant with you that I would protect you and keep you if you went and took this. I got Malachite out and all of his seed, you would have protection. But you didn't do it, so it took. And I would think that maybe, I don't know this, but you would think that since Mordecai is in the position that he's in now, I mean, he's got Haman's position next to the king. They may have done away with the Amalekites. It may have been their end. Because how come everything else is fulfilled, right? So, maybe so. I don't know. The enemies of the Jews, they were considered the Amalekites, so maybe he did finally complete what God had told Saul to do. Took a woman
Yay, women.
Took a woman to do it. But y'all need to be Y'all need to honor me. you need to honor me, babe. She does. My wife loves me to death, and it's mutual. So they hanged old Haman on the gallows, 50
But what
cubits.
you were saying just a few minutes ago, it does say that, because it says here, because Haman, the son of, and I can't say that name, Hamidith, the Agite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast pur, which is lots,
Yeah.
to consume them and to destroy them. But when Esther came before the king, he commanded by letters that his wicked device, which he devised against the Jews, should return upon his own head. So that what Saul was supposed to do for what the king Agag done to the Israelites.
Yeah, when they was coming out of the land, he wouldn't let them pass through, and he was being a jerk.
So it returned.
And they was going to pay him, right? If I remember it correctly, they was going to pay him for the water and what grass or whatever. They wasn't going to stop in his land. They was just going to pass through it. I believe that's the right story. I'm sure somebody from the synagogue will let me know if I'm wrong, but that's okay. I'm not right about everything. Yeah, let's see. Because Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, the enemy of all the Jews, had devised against the Jews to destroy them, and had cast pur. That's where the word Purim comes from. It means lot. Purim is lots, and pur is lot. That is the lot to consume them and to destroy them. You're right. I did not realize this went all the way back to Moses, as a matter of fact, if you want to get down to it. You aggravated him way back then, and then, think about it. It went all the way from Moses through Joshua, through Judges, into First King, because Saul was the first king of Israel. He wasn't supposed to be the first king of Israel, but he was. I guess David was.
But it also brings you to Jesus, though.
Oh, here we go. How's that?
Well, as Jesus humbled himself, right?
Before the king?
Well, because he came in the form of man.
Yeah.
So he humbled himself. So did Esther, because Esther had a royal apparel. So what she done was she took off her royal apparel. She was not a queen anymore. She come before the Lord humbly, because it says she put on sackcloth.
That's exactly right. She did not come before the king in her royal apparel. That is far out.
And she put on, well, this is during her fast and prayer. She put on, it says dung and ashes on her hair.
They go way out, so, you know.
And then what was done to Mordecai by placing on him the royal robe and giving him the ring, it's the same with Jesus. Jesus then becomes the king.
Yeah.
He is the king, Prince of Peace, and king over all kings. So you can bring that into...
I can make that connection.
And the same thing, you can have Haman and Satan and Jesus, where Haman, Satan, right, is tempting Jesus and saying, if you would just bow down before me, I would give you half, right?
Exactly. It makes that connection too. That's right. Half the, yeah. Except for, I think Satan said, I'll give you all of it, but if you would just bow down and worship me. But you can't do that. You're right. It also brings you back to when you're talking about salvation through Mary. We'll talk about women. Salvation came through Mary. God is able to make of these stones children to Israel, but he didn't. He chose a woman. And the Prince of Peace, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, did come through a woman. Like I said the other day, when you take their names, right? Woman and man, woman actually has the breath of life and the tree of life. So that goes back to yesterday. So it does come through a woman. It came through Mary. The tree of life, which is all of life, is Jesus is the tree of life, right? He is. So he came through a woman. That's amazing.
Well, it's
amazing how it all ties together. If
because even Sarah was told that through her seed, princes and kings would come through.
Mm-hmm.
So if you tie Mary's lineage back, then yes, it comes through Sarah's seed through Abraham, and then the blessing of the Lord that blessed them to have seed.
Well, if you'll go back, all of the that's why we do our lineage through our mothers, because the promise might have been given to, I mean, it's a man's world, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but in a fact, it was Sarah, because Abraham had other seed.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, what was his name?
Ishmael. And others that we don't know about.
Yeah, and others that we don't know about. And then when we come back to who else? Jacob, he wanted Rachel.
Yeah.
But it was Leah
yeah.
who brought forth the lineage of her, so.
Well, talking about lineage, it gives you Esther's lineage because it tells you who she was daughter of.
Yeah, absolutely. Esther, the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew. But it tells you even deeper than that, I think, at the beginning, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But we do know they were Benjamin.
So all in all, Purim, which starts today and ends tomorrow.
It starts here in just a few minutes. It'll be sundown here in about 10 minutes.
So to end
Give me something to eat.
To end this little conversation on Purim, we'll end it with, wherefore they call these days Purim after the name of Pur. Therefore, for all the words of this letter and of that which they had seen concerning this matter, and which had come unto them, the Jews ordained and took upon them and upon their seed. I didn't know that. And upon all such as join themselves unto them. Now,
that's right. Remember all the people that wanted to be Jews when they found out, there's going to be a massacre? Yeah, we're going to convert. So you're right. But
so the blessing comes to the stranger.
Absolutely. Right back to Jesus Christ. They grafted in. Even though they weren't Jews, if they became Jews, then they would have been saved from. Exactly, you're right. It makes sense. It ties in.
In what is that? Abraham. I think it was.
It ties in through Abraham.
So as it should not fail that they would keep these 2 days according to their writing and according to their appointed time every year,
with feast and pleasantries. Send some food to somebody. Go feed the poor. And have a blast.
And it says, and these days should be remembered and kept throughout every generation, every family, every providence, every city, and that these days of Purim should not fail from among the Jews or us that are grafted in.
Exactly.
Nor the memorial of them perish from their seed.
And in the end, it was confirmed through letter by Esther herself, because she rewrote it.
Happy Purim!
And don't forget, have a blast. If you liked it, thumbs up.